Well, hello. This video is a little unusual. People often wonder about, are they allowed to become wealthy and be a believer? And the answer is yes. There is a lot of verses in the Bible that talk about prosperity, but it's also not prosperity for prosperity's sake. It's not becoming rich for the sake of becoming rich. It's still rooted in the gospel itself. For example, in Isaiah chapter 1, verse 19, it says, if you're willing and obedient, you shall eat the good of the land. Isaiah 58, verses 10 and 11. If you extend your soul to the hungry and satisfy the afflicted soul, then your light shall dawn in the darkness, and your darkness shall be as the noonday. The Lord will guide you continually and satisfy your soul in drought and strengthen your bones. You shall be like a watered garden and like a spring of water whose waters do not fail. The one I like is Luke chapter 12, the rich fool. Someone in the crowd said to him, Teacher, tell my brother to divide the family inheritance with me. But Jesus said to him, Friend, who set me to be a judge or arbitrator over you? And as he said to them, Take care, be on your guard against all kinds of greed, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of possessions. Then he told them a parable. The land of a rich man produced abundantly, and he thought to himself, What should I do? For I have no place to store my crops. Then he said, I'll do this. I'll pull down my barns and build larger ones. And there I will store all of my grain and my goods. And I will say to my soul, Soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said to him, You fool, this very night your life is being demanded of you. Yikes. And the things you have prepared, whose will they be? So it is with those who store up treasures for themselves, but are not rich toward God. So the word rich, the word wealthy, has different meanings based on the context. A person can be rich simply because they have everything they want that gives them personal satisfaction. Not everybody needs a yacht. Not everybody needs to have the biggest house. Some of those TV preachers that brag about how big their houses are and their jets and stuff, demonic all the way. That's the love of money. That's self-love. That's narcissism. That's hedonism. That's all the wrong things. It's the love of money or the inability to part with it. Like the rich man who came to Jesus and he said he was doing everything. And Jesus said, great, well, then in order to be perfect, sell all your goods, sell everything you have, give it to the poor, and take up your cross after me. And the man walked away sad. He was not going to part with his earthly possessions. And remember, Jesus says repeatedly that you're not supposed to be of this world and that you build up your treasures in heaven where they last forever, not on earth where they can rust and be stolen from you. But be rich. You're not rich towards God. So this guy is accumulating wealth for the sake of wealth, all for himself. That does not help the poor. That does not help the hungry. That only helps himself. So there's no victory there. In 2 Corinthians, Paul talked about a guy who was about to give him a large donation. And he said, the point is this, those who sow sparingly will reap sparingly, and the one who sows bountifully will reap bountifully. Each of you must give as you have made up your mind, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. And God is able to provide you with every blessing in abundance, so that by always having enough of everything, you may share abundantly in every good work. He who supplies seed to the sower and bread for food will supply and multiply your seed for sowing and increase the harvest of your righteousness. The example would be as you're giving to the poor, to those who help to give to the poor, they're spreading your goodwill among more. So your blessings become greater because outreach becomes greater. In Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5, keep your life free from love of money and be content with what you have. For he has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. So covetousness, avarice, greed, all that stuff. No, God's not in favor of that. But he also has no problem with you becoming wealthy. There are plenty of men of God that were very, very wealthy men. Now let's talk about wealth itself. Everyone wants to make more money. And then it gets to a point where you're satisfied, and everyone has a different litmus test for that. Let's say you're at a job and you say to yourself, the job paid an extra $1,000 a month. That would be so great. I could take care of an elderly parent. I would have money for my school's children, stuff like that. Okay. But you always need to set aside some of that money and give it back because, like Jesus said, you can't do anything without him. And, he's the vine, if I remember correctly, and you are what is growing off of the vine. And as he prunes you, you'll bear more fruit. So as you make more, plan to give more. Okay. You also get a tax deduction for that. And if you're looking to make more, and you have to understand the agreement that goes on in modern world. When you work for somebody, it's because it's profitable for them to have you do that job. For some, that's fine. They just want their job. They don't want the extra headache, the extra responsibility. They don't want to risk the situations where they can't get paid because there's no money coming in. If that's what meets your goals, then fine. And then there's others who say, I have a unique skill and talent, and I want to make more money. Well, the only way you can make more usually is to go into business for yourself. So find a trade or a skill or something that you have that is marketable, that you can sell to others. And with an internet, you've always got a worldwide potential audience. Hope you found this video helpful. Remember, it's the love of money, where money becomes the focal point, where you get into trouble.